Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Washington Times Media Spotlight. I'm Steve Malzberg. You know, as we get deeper and deeper into the presidential cycle and election and campaign and closer to Election Day, the media is doing more and more to make sure that Kamala Harris gets elected. And they're doing more and more to justify how she got to the top of the Democrat ticket. Now, let's turn to ABC's The View. I've been a critic of theirs for a long time and targeting some of their hosts specifically over the many years. What I saw last Thursday is bizarre and scary, even by View standards. They had Governor Sununu, the governor of New Hampshire, Republican, who supported Nikki Haley during the primaries. He's now reluctantly supporting Donald Trump. And he brought up the fact that there are a lot of people like him in the Republican Party who don't like Trump all that much, but want to see change.
They want a disruption out of Washington. They're tired of the elitism, the same types of people getting in there. And that's where they, well, sure, on both sides, right? I think it's different.
Yeah, but now you have a black woman. That's a big change.
Yeah, sure.
Oh, so now we have a black woman at the top of the ticket. That's a change, so all is good. That's not the kind of change that Sununu was referring to, but just because you like what the result is doesn't mean the process is the right process. Now, Sarah Haynes, who was also on the View panel, she just thought that all this was peachy keen, and she asked the governor this.
Why weren't Republicans able to do what Democrats were able to do, which is taking someone for different reasons that they didn't feel could maybe win or was fit out?
Yeah. Hey, Governor, since the Democrats threw the Democrat process out the window, why don't the Republicans do the same thing? Wow. And John Sununu reminded her that Donald Trump is the nominee because he won the Republican primaries. And then he added this.
Let's talk about what's really going on in the last couple of weeks here. So the Democrat voters all voted for Joe Biden. And then a couple of elites said, yeah.
Well, they voted for Harris, too. She was on the ticket.
Yeah, understood. That's right. But they voted for him. That's right. But they voted for Biden to be president.
I'm not sure why the governor was so generous to Sonny Hostin's claim. Kamala Harris didn't get any votes for president. The Democrat voters voted in the primaries, and they voted, as the governor says, for Joe Biden.
And it wasn't like it was sent to the convention, and then the delegates had a choice or anything like that. A couple of elites called.
She has 2,000 delegates
Biden
already.
This is simply absurd. Kamala Harris did not even get one delegate because she got a vote. She didn't get any votes. The delegates came on board. That's not the way it's always been done. And of course, this discussion went on. And when Governor Sununu asked them, well, what if we kick Donald Trump off the ticket and put Nikki Haley on? Well, the person who passes for a Republican on this View panel, Alyssa Farah Griffin, she was giddy about that idea.
I wish we had a party that could operate that way.
But that would be awful. But everyone has to accept that would be awful
they can't
for America.
The convention happened already.
Yeah, right. But that would be awful because the voters have to decide.
Why would it be awful?
Because voters have to decide, not elites.
It would be two women against each other.
Again, Behar trashes the traditional Democratic way of selecting a presidential candidate because she's happy with the results. And of course, the talk that, oh, the Democratic primary voters, they voted for Harris. No, they voted for Biden to be the next president of the United States or to be the Democrat nominee. Folks, over 2 million people a day watch The View. A lot of them don't know any better. And they're being fed this incredible nonsense. All I got to say is if the hosts really believe what they're saying, wow. If they don't believe it, then that's even worse. And ABC should really rein some of this in.
In the 2020 primary, the vice president praised the defund the police movement, and now she says she doesn't support defunding the police.
That was Dana Bash on State of the Union last Sunday, and that's my shock of the week. Bash went on to point out Kamala Harris's flip-flop on whether or not it's illegal to enter the country illegally. And then she had more for California Democratic Senator LaFonza Butler.
She supported Medicare for all at one point, eliminating private insurance, and her campaign says she doesn't support that now. She's reversed herself on a fracking ban. What do you think that voters should think when she's reversed herself on several issues just in the last 4 years?
These should be questions that are raised every day by the media, brought up to every Kamala Harris supporter, and eventually, somehow, to Kamala Harris herself. Don't hold your breath.
Well, first of all, I don't think I've ever been asked a question so in such a horrible manner. First question. You don't even say, hello, how are you? Are you with ABC? Because I think they're a fake news network, a terrible network.
Donald Trump reacting to the very first question he received from ABC's Rachel Scott at the National Association of Black Journalists, and that was their forum in Chicago last week. This is after Scott said that the invite itself to have Trump there was problematic, and then she accused him of all kinds of racial things, saying bad things about black journalists, etc. And then she brought up DEI and Kamala Harris.
Some of your own supporters, including Republicans on Capitol Hill, have labeled Vice President Kamala Harris, who is the first Black and Asian American woman to serve as vice president and be on a major party ticket, as a DEI hire. Is that acceptable language to you?
And then Trump shot back with this.
Give me a definition then. Would you give me a definition
DEI.
of that? Give me a definition.
Sir, I'm asking you a question,
No,
a
you
very
have to
direct
define
question.
it. Define it for me, if you
I
would.
just defined it, sir.
No, she didn't define it. She simply repeated diversity, equity, and inclusion. And folks, let's talk about this for a second, because the media accuses basically anyone who dares insinuate that DEI played a role in Kamala Harris becoming vice president, that they're racist somehow. Well, let's go back to Joe Biden's Oval Office address just last month.
I've kept my commitment to appoint the first black woman to the Supreme Court of the United States of America. I also kept my commitment to have an administration that looks like America.
Back in 2020, before Biden made his VP pick, there was plenty of talk about the pressure on him to pick a black woman. And in July of 2020, Biden bragged to Joy Reid on MSNBC that his VP list included 4 black women. He went on to say, "Black women have supported me my whole career, and so it's important that my administration, I promise you, will look like America, both from vice president to Supreme Court to cabinet positions to every major position in the White House. It's critically important that that be the case." So how is it that we have a mainstream media that accuses anyone who raises the possibility that DEI played a role in Kamala Harris becoming vice president, when Joe Biden himself has certainly at least raised that possibility, if not confirmed it outright? Well, the answer is we have to elect Kamala Harris at all costs. Media bias in your face.
And apparently they left me like a block behind. I'd fallen out the straw.
That's Harris back in 2019 telling a story that she's told over and over. She was a little girl. She was in a stroller. She was with her mother marching in a civil rights rally or march, and she fell out of the stroller. And her mother didn't realize it. And then her mother realized it. And then she found her.
Then she would look down at me and, "Kamala, what do you want? What do you want?" And I looked back up at her and I said, "Freedom."
That's a great story. A little girl knowing enough that she wants freedom, or freedom, as Harris said. There's only one problem, a problem that the mainstream media won't dare to address today. Did Kamala Harris steal that story from Martin Luther King Jr.? Well, listen to this, and you decide for yourself. King was interviewed in Playboy magazine in 1965. Here's some of the story he shared. "I will never forget a moment in Birmingham, Alabama, when a white policeman accosted a little girl, 7 or 8 years old, who was walking in a demonstration with her mother. 'What do you want?' the policeman asked her gruffly, and the little girl looked at him straight in the eye and answered, 'Feed 'em.' She couldn't even pronounce it, but she knew it was beautiful." So there it is. It's almost the same exact story, except Kamala Harris says she said, "Freedom," and the little girl that Martin Luther King described said, "Feed 'em." But they're both talking about freedom. Isn't this worth exploring? Isn't this worth the media bringing up? Isn't it worth Kamala Harris being asked about this? Doesn't it smell fishy? If Donald Trump had ever had any chance of stealing a story from Martin Luther King Jr., don't you think we'd all know about it?
In her speech in Atlanta last night, Kamala Harris even tried to outbrand a new Southern accent. Did you hear a new accent? If I ever did that, all of those people back there, look at them, look at all those cameras. That's something. Oh, when I go through hell, I'd have a week of hell if I ever tried to do that.
So what's Trump talking about?
And you all helped us win in 2020, and we're going to do it again in 2024.
That's what Trump's talking about. Kamala Harris's sudden fake Southern accent down in Georgia. And there's more.
So I'm gonna get into some business now. Okay, I'm gonna get into some business now. All right.
Just another story that the mainstream media will not touch. Folks, that is demeaning. It's disgusting. And again, silence from the media. And Donald Trump is absolutely right. If he ever put on an accent to suit an audience, they would be all over him. Last Wednesday, Hamas leader Ismail Haniyeh was assassinated in Tehran. Speculation is that Israel played a part in that event, although they have not claimed responsibility. The next morning on NBC's Today Show, Richard Engel weighed in on how the assassination would affect any peace talks.
It disrupts it tremendously. There has been a deal on the table that both sides more or less agree to for the last several months, and they've been trying to work out some of the details. And the Qataris, other mediators, say it is Netanyahu who wants more.
But of course, Israel is to blame for not capitulating to the demands of the terrorists Hamas in peace negotiations. And that was before the assassination.
And now, after the killing of a member of Hamas's political wing, Ismail Haniyeh lives in Qatar, or did live in Qatar, was part of the political wing, was one of the chief negotiators. Now he's dead. So Qatar, main moderator, saying, well, how are we supposed to continue these talks?
The constant theme from the media is that this guy was okay because he was the head of Hamas's political wing. But if you look hard enough, once in a while, you'll find the truth being slipped into reports. Here's ABC's Good Morning America.
Haniyeh, according to the IDF, the Israel Defense Forces, one of the masterminds of the attack on October 7th.
ABC also noted that the Trump administration placed Haniyeh on a U.S. government terrorism list, an official designation that named him as an individual associated with terror. Folks, obviously, the Washington Times Media Spotlight has concentrated its episodes on the media coverage of the events surrounding this unprecedented election. And we'll continue to do that, but we're not going to turn away when we see bias elsewhere and involving other topics. We'll bring it all to you as best we can. Thanks for watching this episode. Please share the link, tell your friends. I'm Steve Malzberg, and until next time, stay safe.